People who, in many instances, have absolutely no clue what they are doing. The Marxists, the anarchists.
So it's episode 113 of Inane Blather. Very special episode that we've been saving for number 113. That milestone that everyone's always looking for. Number 113. It's episode
Everyone's
number 113.
lucky number.
It's your 113th anniversary, etc., etc., etc.
We've all seen it.
Yeah. We've all seen it. We all know.
This is lit.
And it is
awesome to the max.
But we have a guest on for episode 113. One of the craven lunatics from the hordes of
headstrong, stubborn, quibbling, self-centered, vindictive, obnoxious, hormonal, sexually preoccupied, evil, thieving, cross-dressing jerks.
And that's Danae. So,
Yay,
how would you want
Danae.
to introduce yourself, Danae? How do you want to be known on the pod?
How would I? I'm not prepared for that.
Okay.
I'm not prepared for that
fine.
question. I would prefer to not be known.
Okay.
If I could, but
That's why I
We can
asked.
bleep
Just
out your
Danae.
name.
Sometimes, yeah, we could go without the name. We could
Auto-tune your
misdirect,
voice.
tell people that you're like from South Carolina or something like that. But really, we've known Danae for a long time. She's awesome. She listens to the show sometimes.
If you listen to the show, you'll have heard her being shout out several times. Shouted out.
True.
Several times.
And also, it goes to show, if you listen to the show, you could probably get on if you want. So,
Not
no.
probably. 1,000%. All you have to do is like literally just ask, and we'll be like,
comment.
But
text the group chat.
Hey, can I talk to you guys? Cool.
I want to
Sure.
talk about, and what do you want to
The-
talk about? That everyone wants to hear. She wants to talk about Jesus. She wants to talk about
Yes.
a Jesus.
The important thing is, for this 113th episode, we bring on our friend and pastor, Danae,
Amen.
to kind of lead this support group that we're having right now.
Sorry.
Children of Trump supporters and Christian nationalist adjacent people, I guess you'd call them. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, if you
Yeah.
or your loved
Yeah,
ones have been
definitely.
affected by, right-wing evangelical Trumpism,
You're in good company.
yeah, Danae has a degree in that or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know. What's you've heard of it at least, right?
Not quite. Life experience equivalent, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
I
yeah,
will
yeah.
say that I think I should probably be able to send my therapy bills to the Trump administration at this point. But
Good point.
that's for another conversation, probably.
Then it's more just the economics conversations that we rarely have on here too. You're like, how can for personal finances, how can I write this off? I'm pretty sure I could just sue the Trump admin.
Yeah.
And Trump campaign.
I
Who do
mean,
you
he doesn't
attack?
really pay his invoices anyway.
Yeah. So you could send him. Good luck.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's gonna pay
It's not
off.
gonna. Yeah.
True.
Well,
So we were talking about it.
I was gonna say we were talking about your
I'm trying to
therapist
line all
about
this
how they
up.
don't laugh at 9/11
Yeah.
jokes, and that's what we really wanted to dive into here.
Yep, exactly.
Mental illness is when you're right.
Never forget.
Yeah. Just sit down, and every time I open up to my therapist, all I can say is,
Oh, how I wish I could believe or understand that.
Amen.
no, but before the show, we kind of started talking about it, and we decided that, hey, no, we should start recording soon. And 15 minutes later, we got around to it. But that's why I was thinking about it, talking about parents, or Natalie, you had mentioned, these people that, just that so many people that are otherwise what you consider to be kind, intelligent people that you love, people that you know, still fall into like just what seems to everyone else to be obvious claptrap, with like Trump and his just these hollow motions to the Christian identity in America and stuff like that. It's really annoying the more people you meet like that, where it's like, how do you fall for this? How do you square this circle? How do you possibly think like as a, God-fearing Christian or just a kind, compassionate person, like you were saying, like, with evangelicals, Christian nationalism, that sort of thing is odd and illogical enough, or even on our end, like with a Trump supporting kind of family member, it's like, how do you, this man who's like worked your entire life with like Special Olympics, helping people, being nothing but empathetic and kind to people, how do you support Trump? Like, it's just so strange. I don't get it. But there's reasons that people can fall into it, right? Like, you've been around, what, you said you led a cult once or something?
Yeah.
Not
I don't want to call myself a leader,
I
but
kinda
if
wish I
people
had
say
it.
it,
But if people follow.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably have a couple more zeros in my bank account if that was the case.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah, successful cult.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's been a lot of question marks for people that I talk to, because I, by choice, somewhat live in a house full of Trump supporters. I am like very adamantly not that. Also, just like being in our, to dox ourselves, hometown of Othello, Washington. It's Trump territory.
Oh, yeah.
You can't drive 5 minutes without seeing a giant sign that says Trump 2024. But it's also like super well like known throughout the town that it's like churches everywhere.
Yeah.
And so like, where's that cognitive dissonance? Like, how does that work out in real life? And to quote Kamala Harris, just kidding. Like, we live inside the context. Of
we didn't just fall out of a
that
coconut
was
tree
before us or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't fall out
potatoes.
of a coconut tree, and it's really I actually like left the church, the mainstream Christian church back in like 2018. It took me about 2 years to just like be fully sick of politics, or like the Trump loving politics back then, and I've just like realized that literally for like decades now, the church, or like the leaders of the Christian church, have been basically setting up for what we see today, which is Christian nationalism, and it's like an attempt at basically dominating like every sector of like America, and if not America, the world. And it's it's really bizarre, and there's a lot of like just being in a bubble, not having people poking at the bubble, everyone kind of believing the same things and stuff. So
yeah, that kind of gets me with the like
I'm going on a tangent.
That's what the show is for.
Totally fine. That's what I'm waiting for. But it's kind of funny that whole, people being really hesitant to poke that bubble because religion is involved, especially Christianity in the United States, where it's just like, hey, but you know what? People can believe what they believe and stuff. And there has to be certain points where, especially when Christian people need to poke the bubble and be like, no, people can't just believe what they believe. If you're going against, you're supporting something completely against like the core tenets of your faith or something, like, myself as an atheist even, it's just like, yeah, but I still find a lot of the New Testament to be interesting. Jesus is an important figure, and
definitely had an influence.
and Yeah, sure. Yeah, he was
Regardless.
important in case you didn't
Yeah.
know. No, but I mean, in terms of, like that entire perspective on love instead of, it's completely different than what preceded it in the Bible and in history and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And there's all these things that people say they stand for, but then will just firmly just plant their feet in Trumpism, things like that. It was kind of like that, pre-Trump era. You have like the Bush era of compassionate conservatism and all this, where it's like, it would take more of like you'd have to be a smarmy Jon Stewart, Bill Maher, being like, well, this is, kind of hypocritical, huh? And it's like, that doesn't do anything. I mean, it's not as stark of a contrast, in my opinion. Like, you could still kind of square that circle, like I was saying before. You could, I don't know, you could kind of justify, rationalize your views as like a conservative and a Christian, right? But now, it's not just like, well, I interpret the Bible in this way, so, I'm against gay people or whatever it might be, or abortion somehow or something like that. And it's like, okay, and you go along with like the conservative side, and that's Republicans. But now with Trump, where it's like, not only is it not able to be like rationalized with a conservative Christian view of the Bible or something, but it's also like he's so obviously just isn't like a devout man in any way whatsoever.
Holding the Bible
And
upside down
it's one
for a
of those-
photo op. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like so just
2
seems like
Corinthians.
weirdly.
Come on.
I mean, no, about
It
blasphemy
just
or whatever. It
isn't-
just seems disrespectful. Like in any way. Like
just
I can't
isn't a
imagine
Bible guy.
people that like Danae knows a lot more people that would be like just like religious like that, not just spiritual, but like really going to church and really reading their Bible and stuff. And I can't imagine any of them taking a picture with their Bible, holding it upside down like some careless piece. It's like, that's like the word of God, guys. Like,
Yeah.
Well, not to mention that that's also just a weird thing to do. Like, you don't
1,000%.
people don't just pose
Sure.
with their Bibles.
It's like
It's
one
like
thing to have it in
sell
your
Trump
hand
Bibles.
and like have a picture taken of you, and then like holding it.
yeah.
Check out my Bible, guys.
It's really bizarre. It's really bizarre. There's definitely it's so something that's also like along those lines. It's really weird because you actually don't get a lot of people actually recognizing those things, like those small things, like we talk about Stormy Daniels, or we talk about Trump, in the entertainment, whatever, that one like the recording of him talking
Grab it by
about
the
the
pussy.
Yeah.
Miss yeah, basically. I actually brought that up in a family argument a couple of months ago,
Bingo.
which was not my best moment, but
You're quoting a president.
they literally had no idea. They got mad at me. They were like, "Don't say that. That's a bad word." And I was like, "No, Trump said that." They were like, "When?"
Wow.
So like, there's a huge, like, when I say a bubble, like I mean like a literal like media bubble where a lot of these things that we see as like, okay, that's pretty obvious immoral, those don't even reach those ears for the most part. And if they do, they are very much explained away, justified in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it comes from like those like leadership positions that I was talking about higher up in the Christian church, where they have money invested in who's running our legislation.
Just
basically.
classic. Yeah, just kind of
Classic.
corruption,
yeah.
handshaking stuff.
Like that. What did you say? It was the I forgot what the phrase was, but the one quote that back from the 2016 era, where he says he was like he could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot someone dead
Yeah.
and get away with it. he gave that speech at a Christian university, very well known Christian university. Yeah, so like that
So
kind of
thoughtful.
stuff, like it's
So
just
thoughtful.
kind of normalized there. And also, there's been this huge wave since like the 90s, 80s, 90s of Christianity moving towards those gender roles and that patriarchal mindset of like needing to have men of strength in positions of leadership.
True.
So, back when Jimmy Carter was elected, basically the Christian
They were like, he's a little
right
bitch.
came in.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, he's
Jimmy
well."
Carter's a good
Well, at
Christian
first
man.
they were like, "He's our
Sure,
guy."
he's a Sunday school teacher.
They were, yeah, they were excited about him. He's our guy. He's gonna get our stuff done. He didn't get anything done that they thought he was, so they were like, "Okay, we can replace you." And they've replaced him the next election, right? And so it's kind of been that like snowball effect, where you just like they didn't want to have Obama, like they didn't want to do Hillary Clinton because of what Obama had been able to accomplish. Okay, Trump's our next bet. We're going to put our money on him. If he's going to make sure that we can ban abortion, we will back this guy. And what did he do? He got abortion banned.
That's true. Yeah, I was going to say.
And like that was a huge single issue vote. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had the conversation where it's like, well, you want to kill babies. And it's like,
that
okay.
as a right-wing movement goes back to, like you said, Jimmy Carter. Like that is when the gosh, what do they call it? What is that movement? That political movement. But the right-wing evangelical movement, really decided to use that as a political tool, is the abortion issue, because it really wasn't, even at the time of like Roe v. Wade. Like you were kind of a weirdo if you were that into like being anti-abortion. It wasn't like the Christian issue in the 1970s.
Evangelicals
until they decided to make it so.
We're like supportive of it. Baptist preachers and stuff coming out and being like, this is a win for families. We don't need the government in our lives. Like there was a lot of like caution around the government getting too involved in people's personal lives and like what that would mean for churches.
Yeah,
like,
autonomy.
Definitely like we deal with our own, and this is whatever families decide these issues. That's not something that we don't have a say in this. The government can stay out of our lives because we want, religious freedom. We want to run our churches the way we want to do, whatever. It was like people just didn't were supportive or like apathetic, it's like, that's not really business. That's like a private thing. And we're just going to kind of keep to our own and stay out of the dirty business of politics. And, people like legitimately like huge names in like after the after the Roe versus Wade opinion came out, that it was like protected these rights. Decision. That they were like, this is good. This is a good thing. Like this, I forget what the guy's name is. Like it was in Texas
because it truly was
big old
about
Baptist
privacy.
church. Yeah, it's like
how it was
exactly
too.
And then it was like Republicans not being able to use segregation as a galvanizing issue for their base because people were like, this isn't really working. We're losing this, fight at this university. We've lost our tax exempt status, because we are segregated and we're not, like they're trying to get mad about the government about that. And it's like, this is not really flying. This is like, segregation is like on its way out here. This is like the 1970s. So it's like already, the civil rights, whatever has happened, but it's like still some pushback. What is it? Bob Jones University, is the university that they were trying to do this Christian Bob Jones. Yeah, this Christian university.
Bob Jones.
And there was like the Republicans like partnered with this filmmaker and like did this film that they showed in all these churches in the Southeast in particular, about, it's like, this is the future, pretty much essentially it's like, this is the future the left wants. And there's like baby dolls strewn all over the beaches, like that they just want, everyone's going to be like an aborting communist, leftist, like sort of feminism is like in the air here. You know, this is like the 1970s. This is when women are
utopia.
Yeah, that's kind of, and it's like really scaring, like with this imagery that's like really like,
Sure.
I mean, you know, really speaks to some people who would care about babies,
Frightening.
you know? And specifically
Well, and
targeting
then-
those kinds of communities.
Yeah.
But
Even after all of these years and going through that, and then eventually culminating in lining up a right-wing Supreme Court that reverses Roe v. Wade and enables all these abortion bans, they're still up there on the debate stage, Trump talking about Democrats wanting to kill babies literally after they're born. Like, it's still like that, such a prominent fear tactic, you know, even though Trump's number one issue should be that in these rural areas,
People have to flush their toilet 15 times.
and that's what I know about Othello, where we grew up, you know,
Yeah.
is that
People have to flush their toilet 15
okay,
times.
but so
thoughtful.
going back,
Yeah.
I was kind of piecing some stuff together. Gears were turning in my head here. You were talking about when I was talking about just how Trump not only, it's not just that he's, you know, he's tough to rationalize, like a Christian identity with Trumpism. It's the big issue in my mind, how, like, because you can't just say, well, they're not a real Christian. You don't want to do a no true Christian
not
fallacy.
fair.
People are what they are, but the biggest issue with like Trump and Trumpism is not like, you know, like, oh, he obviously doesn't read his Bible, or he says 2 Corinthians. No, it's that he's unrepentant about these other things. It's not that he had sex with a porn star. It's like Christianity in general is about forgiveness and stuff like that. But he would never, he's the, a key feature of Trump is never admitting wrongdoing, denying anything he's ever done wrong, twisting it around. That's just kind of, you know, that's what he's always been, even just as a businessman. That's how some of these people are. That's how a strong male figure is in like these right-wing American things, is just literally never admitting you ever made a mistake or did anything
Daddy's
wrong.
always right.
So this unrepentant attitude leading to never like he's being forgiven for any of these sins, for cheating on his wife, or for, you know, whatever blasphemous thing he may have done. So then that only feeds into what you were saying, the fact that some people are like, what? Trump did that? Like, if they're in that media bubble, the fact that he never even admits to doing wrong, they may never even hear that he did it. Like,
Even
they
if
may
he
never hear
did.
that he said 2 Corinthians, or that he fucked a porn star while his wife was pregnant, or whatever it might have been. They're like, nah, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would have said something about it.
And I think with like the way that the climate is, even if he did admit to anything, was repentant of anything, they would still be like, he's our guy.
Yeah.
He's
True.
our guy.
But why?
And I think it comes down to, we have become so like us versus them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on that side. It is very us versus them. They're
Yeah.
like, it is us versus the rest of the world. And that has been like ingrained into Christian culture since the early 90s, if not longer. Definitely like with like Billy Graham, like I think probably
Okay.
even like back then.
Persecution
I was just gonna say
complex,
persecution-
as some would say.
I was trying not to
100%,
interrupt Danae, but I should have.
100
So I could have seemed smarter than you, Doug. No.
No,
I'll edit that out.
no, it's so real. Like I remember like, and maybe you guys remember this too. I know you guys kind of went to church growing up a little bit, but like there's definitely this like, you have to be so not of this world. You need to be set apart. You have to live a holy life, and everything else is, you know, basically fallen. You're going to hell. if you're da 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 whatever.
True, yeah.
And
yeah, we went to the
I
Baptist
think
church. Oof.
I think that basically because we have an entire generation that was just like raised on that and like little education outside of it, there's just not a lot of critical thinking and like curiosity around looking at Trump administration, what he's actually doing. Does this actually line up with my values or like what I actually, because I say I believe in Jesus and his teachings, but how does that actually apply? And oftentimes I've noticed it doesn't. Like the whole love your neighbor thing, I think that applies if it's a white neighbor, like, or a wealthy neighbor. But if it's like a houseless person, a brown, a black, a gay person, like that doesn't count.
Ew.
Like,
They're not
you
a
know,
neighbor.
like, or if I do love them, there is also like some kind of ulterior motive, right? Of
It's a
like, oh, I need to
condescending
save
love.
them somehow. Yeah,
Pitying.
definitely that like white savior complex kind of thing going on.
Well, especially the way they draw
so,
Jesus.
yeah, I
He
mean-
is the white savior, right? They don't even color in his skin the
Absolutely.
right color.
What would blue-eyed Jared Leto
Fair-skinned,
Jesus
yeah.
say about this?
Yeah, six pack.
Well, it's funny because that it does apply to church-going people, right? We often talk about I sometimes I'm like, we talk about this all the time, Natalie and I don't remember if we even say it on the podcast because we usually talk for an hour before we start recording. But it's like, you know, you can't just fault people for not knowing this stuff. It's like because we live, as members of the working class in American capitalism. You're working, you're trying to raise your family, you're living paycheck to paycheck. Well, you know, when it comes to so many things, it's like, people don't have time for that. They're not going to think about it. Yeah. They want to, it's not laziness for a lot of people, at least, to just be like, okay, this is what I heard. This is what the news told me, or this is what a friend told me, or this is what I saw. And you just take that in, right? And we talk about that for like, economic things, or people don't realize why they're voting against their own self-interest, or why something doesn't actually line up with their values. And so when you apply that to, someone who is church going and stuff, it's like, well, that's where you have your time out. And if these churches are ever talking about politics, which they do, that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear that, we're literally going to go to hell if the Democrats take over or things like that. Or you just hear, of course I'll vote for Trump. I haven't really thought about it. I don't have to. Why wouldn't I vote for Trump, And then that just snowballs into then the people are starting from that step. So that if they start actually looking into it, you're already in the right-wing bubble, You're already starting from a place of, well, Trump's my guy, so let me learn more about it and reinforce that worldview and be propagandized to even more.
And it's hard to unlearn things.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say also... just, living in a small town too, like we're from, and it's like, not to be like condescending and stuff, but it's these are small areas where there isn't much other representation, and your media algorithms are what they are, and there just really isn't a lot of other representation of other thoughts, like in the way that it's like, you're not probably going to run into like some open communist at the grocery store or whatever, like people that are like wearing things on their clothing, signifiers. There's not going to be flyers up that are going to like counterculture stuff. There just really isn't like that. But then you hear from these people, like some people who have maybe spent their whole lives, in a small town like that, and be like, feel very condescended to by someone like me, where they're like, oh, so you think that I don't like hear other opinions? You think that, I don't talk about this with people that disagree? And it's like, but how much do you guys really like
Pretty much.
like disagree? It's like you're not talking to someone with like this whole other worldview from you, really, with a lot of a different experience too. A lot of people who live in these small towns are from this area. Like why would anyone move to a place like that? Honestly, I mean, like I know it happens. There's the Danaes that sometimes come back and usually don't really stay. I lived back there as an adult and stuff, but I'm like, fuck this. No way could I like settle down here. I could never live there again full time. I wouldn't want to. How could I have friends there? It would be like I'd be like the life drained out of me, because it would be very hard to find anyone. Yeah, I would be able to really like relate to, because for like a leftist perspective in a place like that is like, who would I go to? Like there's no community space for something like that. Yeah, it's really like it doesn't exist. Yeah, you're gonna have some Democrats there, and I'll be like, oh God, they're gonna hate me even more than the Republicans do, because I'll be like complaining about Joe Biden or something, They're
like, you anti-Semitic, Israel hater.
But then they'll be feeling like that. They're like, but I'm not stupid. It's like, I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm saying that there's like a lot of different, like perspectives out there that you're like just really, like you're saying,
that
with
you're
this
truly not engaging with.
Yeah, media bubble that is like the algorithm works very well. So, it's just physical isolation and then digital isolation, or, just like running in these same circles. And it's hard not to feel it's hard to know how to bridge that gap sometimes, and without, especially, we all know it, and I know it living over here in Western Washington. I'm like, guys, like the organization I work for is statewide, and we talk often about like how to interact with like Eastern Washington and Central Washington when they don't like
people.
That's what I'm like. In Eastern Washington, I'm like, they say it and I know it and I've lived it, that they're like, Western Washington makes all the decisions. They're this, they're that. Those Western Washington, Seattle, blah, blah, blah.
They separate the state.
Yeah, really don't. Really, there is a huge attitude there that, I mean, I know it because, we all know it because we've all lived over there or do live over there still.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny you say better. It's like if you were like, in a stifling, more monocultural small town or something like that, it's like, where would you go and stuff? It's like, pretty much your only or biggest outlet would be like the internet, and then you immediately realize, oh, that's how all these people stay in that bubble or slip into extremism or Christian nationalism or something like that. It's like, because it's very easy just to go in there and find what you're looking for.
Or in a town like that where there's not much to do and you want community, you go to church. That's like literally what our town has. Like, that's what people do. They're church families. It's a huge part. Church, lots of churches, a lot of people related, a lot of family in town, like cousins and aunts and uncles, and everybody goes to church, and you're going to go to church, and you're going to go to church functions, and things are held at churches, and, all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't really invite a lot of, like, some of these places are not what I think of as, like, bastions of free thinking exactly, like where I go to have like
road.
Though in Seattle, I have been to a church that held a pro-choice rally that was very cool and was hosted by a socialist on the Seattle City Council. But hashtag not all churches, but I would say that a lot of them have like a very specific worldview that is just like reinforced, and not like you don't really think outside of it because you got the answers kind of, and that's great for you guys, but I think what like Danae's talking about that's very interesting and to see like from her perspective is like what they're doing to make that like kind of everybody's problem. It's like you guys can think what you want to think, but you guys are like actively trying to like influence our society, like these leaders, like you're saying, like in like this Christian nationalist sort of movement, like there are ties to political parties now. It's like, I mean, not that there always haven't been, but it's just like open moves towards like
more overt,
like straight up being like this is like we want that kind of society. We want to be one God, like, and that's not your God, that's Jesus and his dad. So it's
Exactly.
Well, and it's funny that you're like, yeah, not all churches. I think of like the church that the only church that I've gone to, over the past decade or something. I've gone a couple times because I played piano for them and stuff like that, and I mow the lawn there every week, and I have for a long time. But and it's a Methodist church, and like that is generally more of an open thing than some of them. I mean, it's literally come as you are is their whole thing. But then it's funny. It's like you say that not all churches. That's why it's so interesting how different like American evangelicalism is than just Christianity in general, how much it stands out, and how like that separation is what gets it into like the nationalist thing, into republicanism and Trumpism and stuff. You were saying before the show, Danae, that like that you spent time in Germany. What is that? What is this? Some sort of country?
Never heard of it.
Oh, Deutschland.
No,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. So I was like briefly there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, for a wedding.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
For a
And I was
layover.
I was okay. Listen, I was visiting a friend for her wedding. We had actually met in Bible college back in my early 20s. I'm not proud of that time, but it was a time that I went through.
Dish girl.
So she's a little bit more. She still considers herself Christian. She goes to church on Sundays. Her family, all the same. They've also been through some what I feel like are a little bit Americanized problems, like as far as like capitalism being kind of involved with their churches, and then like things like church splits happen and stuff. So there's a little bit of history there. But it was really interesting just like sitting at dinner one night, and her mom just turns to me. She goes, can you just explain this to me? Why are the Christians supporting Trump? And I was like, well,
weird.
That's a long story. And
so, yeah, when I was born,
yeah. So,
psychotic, deranged, cultist liars.
Exactly.
She was like, whoa,
Exactly.
whoa.
It was so funny to me because I was like, I would love to say this to someone that's like in my family, but I don't really feel like getting into a fight. But like
That's
that
that
other
bubble
Christians elsewhere are like, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you doing
Pope's a
this?
fan of
And
Trump.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know. Maybe,
No, I have a feeling he's more of a
know?
Joe Biden guy as the lifelong
It's
Catholic.
probably a bad guy.
Catholic.
Yeah, no. So I mean, like, it's just a really interesting mentality. I think that just since the dawn of the internet has just slowly become
I feel like
So
there's
what? Because
an insane
maybe I know
monster.
less. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, tied with what America has that's maybe different than it, like, so expressly put out there is like our manifest destiny sort of situation, that was like maybe a little bit different than like people. Obviously the Brits were all over the world doing their bullshit and whatever, but it wasn't so like there's like these paintings of like, this angel like going over the wagon trains and like manifest destinies, like this whole thing that was like America is like for like God made it for us, and like it's like our like we're like entitled to it. I feel like there's probably obviously much smarter people, or I'm sure Danae could speak on it way more than I could, like about the effect, like the combination of like our particular culture with Christianity, like of how it's been very toxic, like itself, like the kind of, I don't know, people are Christian all over the world, but we do it pretty. We do it, I don't know. There's like the Westboro Baptist Church example, some of those things, where it's been really like, but I mean, hey, I don't know. Other
Or-
countries have done it. Catholicism, they've got a pretty bad rap all over the world, but our particular one in the modern age seems pretty like useless and
Well, with
selfish.
American capitalism,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if like the prosperity gospel exists outside of the U.S. You know,
Maybe
like
that's-
that explicit tie-in of like wealth to Christian ideals, quote unquote, or something like prosperity gospel stuff that like was given much more of a stage during like the 2016 election and maybe during Trump's presidency and stuff. Something like that, like 20 years prior, you're like, that's ridiculous. Like it would be like a thing from a parody movie or like a video game you're playing or something. It's like Grand Theft Auto style of thing. It's like, no, lots of people. I mean, it's just that link of wealth, of American capitalism into everything. And eventually with, your Christian faith.
American
Kind of,
exceptionalism.
yeah, I would just imagine that that wouldn't be very common in places other than America. It seems purely American, but I don't know. I'm just making it up. I was going to ask Danae,
That's okay. We'll
Okay.
just keep yapping. Certified yapper. I'm gonna work up a yappetite, but maybe I'll have some yappetizers.
You do that again, I'm going to come over there and physically assault you with this champagne bomb and break it over your stupid Joker face.
So thoughtful. So thoughtful.
That's something me and my
Okay.
Racist.
I
Ice
think-
cream. Stop him.
Sorry, I think I'm back now.
Okay.
Sorry. So, what was your question, Doug? Or what were you getting around?
Oh, what was I getting around? No.
yapping around.
No, I was going to say just because with just thinking about it with your thoughts on all of these issues, I can't even remember like if you want to say without doxing yourself or something. What church did you go to? Did you go to the one with the speaking in tongues and stuff that I went to?
I did.
Okay.
I did indeed. So I grew up in a Foursquare church.
Okay.
Gonna keep doxing myself. Funny enough, my sister and her husband are now the pastors at that church.
Oh, boy.
And if anyone's interested, they're throwing a tent revival
Oh my god.
this week. So
That's some classic
Wow.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's
it's
some
gonna be
American
old school
classic stuff.
Christianity.
have some snakes.
I've
Yeah.
thought about asking. I've thought about asking if maybe they thought about taking that money and like giving it to the food bank instead. But I again don't really feel like getting into a fight, so I'm not going to
Yeah.
do that. But yeah, no, I think that like the prosperity gospel thing definitely still happening today, and also I think it happens in the world, but usually from missionaries that are coming from the U.S. to other places.
Oh, okay.
Because we still colonized. We
Yeah.
just call it missionary work instead.
Sure.
Totally.
I was
So-
thinking that when Natalie was bringing up Manifest Destiny. Yeah, how well that works with evangelical missionary work and stuff. I don't know how much it seems like. I mean, from where we grew up and what I've experienced, I've always, when I think of missionaries going out places and doing that, my first
as
thought
Mormons.
is LDS, Mormons,
Yeah.
because they do it so much. And I'm sure a lot of that ties in with the current Mormon church. A lot of these kind of what would be considered like evangelical problems and stuff like that goes hand in hand with them just as well. There's a reason that so many of them are rather wealthy, and it's kind of and they're all white, but at least in most of American Latter-day Saints churches and families, but. Gosh, there was something else. So I was just wanted to make sure that you were, that's a very evangelical style church, right? So, I mean, have you been back recently, or do you go? Do you know, like,
No.
do they talk about this stuff? Or you said you broke off in 2018, yeah. So you don't revisit any of that.
No, I pretty quickly lost my taste for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get a little bit traumatized when I think about trying to go to a church service. Also, I just don't know if I believe any of it anymore. I kind of started to see churches as like MLMs, and then once you start thinking about that, it's like I really don't want to do that anymore.
And MLMs in the bad way, as in multi-level marketing, not as in Marxist-Leninist Maoist. So
yeah, correct. Multi-level marketing, because you're just like inviting your friends so that your friends will pay the tithe, and then you pay the tithe, and it just money trickles up. So
I feel like
it's got that pyramid vibe to it.
We went to like a funeral last year, I guess, last fall. It was our aunt, and it was very interesting. Like, I felt like I came in like, I don't go to church. I haven't felt like whatever, but I'm like, whatever. I can find like a lot of beauty in ceremonies and rituals, and like, it's like a time to come together and like all this kind of crap.
People are together.
It was so incredibly dry. It was like hard. It was like, my sister and I were like, this is like weird. It felt really like culty. It just felt really strange and like not. It was hard to be there. It was like hard to like feel anything either. It was just like it was just about God and like not about this person. And I feel like it was just like an attitude. I don't know. It just was really, really different. And I felt like sad in a different way, besides like grief for like someone, dying.
They were very devout.
I feel it.
That part of the family too.
Yeah.
And that kind of separated our family along that line after a while.
Oh, really?
That all these big family get-togethers, the more devout section of those relatives just kind of stopped showing up to our stuff. They went to church stuff. That was, that's what they would do, because our family, for the most part, we don't pray before a family dinner, things like that. It's just not how it is and stuff. And no, yeah, exactly.
He's the only one with family. Our mom doesn't even have a sibling. Doesn't have, like, she has one sister with no kids, so.
Yeah. So it's like, it was kind of funny growing up, and like alluded to earlier, we went to the Baptist church when we were kids. Man, I look back on some of them like, God, it is weird what they do to you as a child. I don't know, just in general, anything like that. I mean, it's like whether for baptized. Good or for bad, it's indoctrination. It's what it is.
Yeah,
but
it's really hard to watch too. Sometimes it's just like, okay.
But it's like
I've got like nieces and nephews that are learning to memorize Bible verses, and I'm like, that is weird. They're under 5 years old.
How
do you not see this as weird?
Yeah.
But it's just the culture. It's just the way that they do things. So.
Yeah, and just by that, the 5-year-old nieces and nephews will know more about the Bible than Donald Trump. And yet they'll still are going to vote for this guy.
I think it's really interesting to think that you're like, I mean, you're kind of joking or whatever, but like about donating money to the food bank and how like that would be something that could maybe like rub someone the wrong way. Like that's kind of suggestion, or that it would be kind of like a little bit tongue in cheek or whatever it is, it's like, because like I think we all know, again, Jesus seems like a cool guy. He seemed like cool with a bunch of stuff and like sharing and like chilling out or whatever. Not, it's like about this whole thing, all this kind of stuff about the meek, and it's hard for rich people, and like fuck those guys pretty much, and just like hanging out with everybody and like trying to feed the poor and heal the sick and all this kind of like
love thy neighbor.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff that he's into. It just is so interesting to see it juxtaposed. Yeah. I said it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow, you said
The N-word.
Oh no, that's the
Vocabulary word of the day.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put a random bleep in where Natalie was talking
Yeah.
to see it. Beep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's oh man, I wish I had I wish I got more drops.
Danae was
on
all
here. I
trying to
haven't done that
prepare before
lately,
this,
'cause
and like, we're like, what do you
I know.
think we
well,
do?
I knew
Yeah.
that Danae was gonna be on. We'd be talking about some Christian issues or something. But as you're saying, you know, Jesus is kind of a cool guy. It's like I wish I had that Simpsons quote with Homer. You know, he's like, well, you know, there was a guy with long hair and some crazy ideas about love and had a lot of influence. Who was that? Marge. You remember him? He drove that blue car. That's some old Simpsons.
Were you going to say something, Danae?
What else? Yeah.
No.
Dang it.
Oh, why not? You're on the podcast to talk.
Sorry. I just wanted to hang out with you guys,
Yeah,
actually.
okay.
So
You know what's
It's a
funny
bonus.
too is just in general more about but like getting through to Trumpers, stuff like that in small towns where they don't really go outside their bubble. You know, maybe it's their fault, maybe it's not. But just today, I was putting up new signs for our Halloween event with the Chamber of Commerce, and it was funny. I ended up talking to this guy who I didn't realize was upset that we were putting stuff on his fence. I thought there was like a miscommunication. He had bought this place just a couple years ago, and we'd always had permission from the previous owners to do city events on there, hang the signs on there, and the city owns the land immediately on the other side. It's kind of at like this crossroads. It's a great place to put signs, and of course, there have been for months Donald Trump and Jared Sessler, or whatever his name is, Trump endorsed maniac, signs on his fence. And then I was taking down our old ones, putting up some new ones, and he happened to be out there. Sessler, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yep.
It says Trump endorsed. I know I'm not voting for him, so, but I don't care.
I don't even know who he is. I just see his signs everywhere.
Yeah.
So I get you.
Yeah. But then I start talking to him, and just with my sly, satanic, sharp-tongued wit, end up talking him back into letting me put the sign up there. But he's like, it's funny just talking to a person long enough. Like, he was kind of upset, and he's like, no one ever asked me if we could put these up here. And you know what? I only want things up here if like I support them. So it's okay if we leave these things up for Sessler, who I like, and of course for President Trump. And I'm like, well, at first I was kind of a dick, honestly. I was like, oh, but you don't support this. You don't support community events for the small town. And no joke, he was like, well, but I'm not going to say. He's like, the previous community thing, it's okay, but Halloween, no, I'm not really into that. I don't like Halloween. Or so I was like, Jesus criminy.
But if it's a harvest festival, it's fine.
Well, we have a harvest festival a week from Friday if anyone's interested, but it's not the same as Halloween. But yeah, and and I toned it down and just had to talk to him for a while. He brought it up a few times though, and you just know that these people are just trying to feel you out or just talk about fucking Trump. That's all they want. And it's like just blowing past it and just acting like a normal human being when it's like without talking about Trump always ends up changing people's minds. Like at least being in like I'm constantly talking to customers or people in the community and stuff like that. There's always a way around this because really they aren't in this position from any sort of like truly deep-seated values and stuff like that. None of that really makes sense. At the end of the day, no matter how Christian or unchristian you think he is, he's a New York billionaire who doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't give a shit about your church. He doesn't give a shit about your fence. Like, and just being a very anti-Trump person myself, but blowing past talking about Trump, being a normal person, and kind of verbally elbowing him in the ribs, talking about, well, you know, gosh, did you see me do my speech at the community event? You know, I talked about how great it is for our community to come together after my house burned down and my dogs died and my kid lost all of her stuff. You know,
But no, I won't hang up this sign. No, I guess
but,
I'll
you know,
just-
I mean, it's
I
just,
just won't.
that's why the Chamber of Commerce is really important in our community events.
How
yada,
long are you
yada.
gonna play that card?
Yeah.
Oh, as long as I need to with chumps like this.
Milk it, and then
but-
Danae can pasteurize it.
Yes! Yeah, let's reference jokes that we did before we started recording. No.
Get it, guys, as a pastor? Because he's talking about Christianity.
But I've just kind of been thinking about it today, where it's just like, you know, you can always tell. I mean, you can tell when these people, they're really, they say it a certain way. They won't just talk, they won't say Trump. They say President Trump, even though he's not the fucking president. They make sure that you saw their signs, the types of people that get a big Trump thing in their truck, not because they like Trump, but because they want you to react to it. That's I mean, and that's how people fall into this stuff so easily too, is because they want to be noticed. They want people to talk to them, whether it's negative attention or not, whether it's some soy boy liberal getting in an argument with them, or whether it's some other amosexual that wants to talk about President Trump and how hot he is, or whatever they do, you know, when they're in the comfort of their own cabin. But it's like they want that. They want something. Life is short, and they're clinging on to something that has some sort of meaning. It's like, it's just the boomer version now. It's like this white boomer loser. And this isn't all Trump supporters, but the types of people that are so out and proud about it. It's like the version of, you know, a teenager shaving their head into a mohawk and dyeing it green or something. Or, like, you know, writing anarchy symbols or something. It's like, no, it's just to make a point of having people look at you and talk to you about it. They're going to drop the Trump thing, or, well, of course, because Trump did this, you know. It all just really, it's the type of thing that can so easily let people just join a cult if they want to. You know, it goes hand in hand with just like, they can just follow along. Hey, this has been working for me. This has made my life interesting for the first time ever, is being a Trump supporter. Yeah.
The
I
feeling
guess.
of the feeling of belonging is like really strong there. I think also going kind of back to like the gender roles thing is because, and wrapping that together with the Christian nationalism, is there's been this very specific like over time, like strengthening of like masculinity needs to be like the strong thing. Americans are supposed to be showing power and strength. Trump is powerful, strong, and if I support him, then I am also those things.
And not
I
a
think
stoic
that
kind of strong, like a fight use kind of strong.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I gotta prove it because I'm actually a little baby.
Yeah, I'm scared because life kind of is scary. You know, we're in late stage capitalism.
And I think there's a reason why we run into the whole like, oh, snowflakes this, snowflakes that, so sensitive. And it goes just back to that patriarchal thing, where anything outside of that is weakness. And, you know, weakness bad. Weakness is bad.
Yeah.
So
even if
yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, doesn't matter who's actually the snowflake if you're the one crying because
Right.
Halloween is satanic or something like that. That's beside the point. Yeah, it's about showing giving in to something that someone else might want when you don't want it. That's weakness. It's like it's not that compassionate stoicism that could have been seen as strength. It's not Atticus Finch. It's Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised you guys don't want to vote for Jared Sessler. He was in NASCAR.
Oh, are you looking him up?
Yeah, I am looking at
Oh
him up.
my God.
That's like one of his things. He was like, he served in the Navy. He is a business owner, and he
Gay.
even realized his lifelong goal
Gay.
of competing in NASCAR. And he's a dad. And I'm like, so you think you
Triple
should be
threat of being gay.
congressman? I mean, whatever. You're an everyday person, I guess. I'll bring some like that. But
No, yeah.
he,
Representative.
yeah, he has Donald Trump's
One
quote
thing-
on there. So that just was looking at his. I can't read any of his issues. They're all videos of him sitting at his desk and talking about. It's like life. I'm sure that's abortion. Second Amendment. Should we breach our dams? China. Administrative state
Should we
apparatus
breach our dams
deregulation.
with the Second Amendment?
Critical race theory, racism, and 1619 versus 1776. Let's see.
Jesus.
Free speech, ignorance, and apathy. And that's like, I can see a little quote in there. We care about God's purposes here on earth, and we care about our fellow man throughout the world. So he's talking about that. Or
Here we
whatever.
go.
So he's like,
Let's see what Jared Sessler has to say about Christianity.
yeah, we should invite him on the show.
As a Trump-endorsed Republican guy.
Oh, we got a sexual indoctrination, gender ideology, and grooming. That's on the issues. That's what one of his videos is about. So, who should make decisions about the education of our children? The opioid crisis as it relates to the
educators.
border. That's a funny one to me. But whatever. Not funny. I mean, the opioid crisis is not funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy.
Are you
Can I just say,
pro-slavery,
I feel
Natalie?
like
What the
it's
fuck
so
are you
crazy
talking
to
about?
me. What am I talking about? It's so crazy to me that the right is so obsessed with groomers because, like, the call is coming from inside the house.
Oh my God.
Like, the amount of
Constantly.
grooming that you see in Christian churches, like, I literally have a neighbor around the block who he was, like, in his late 20s, early 30s when he started dating his now wife, who was 18 at the time, or 17.
Oh, yeah.
I think he met her when she was like 15, but
Yeah,
like no
literal
one
grooming.
bats an eye that he was the youth pastor. It's so weird.
Oh, yeah.
Like, come on.
I remember, of course, in the Baptist church, the pastor's son, one of the creepiest guys ever. He loved teenage girls.
Yeah. Yikes.
Although, you never know, some people come at it from a totally different angle.
For a drag queen to groom me, though.
Yeah.
Groom me like a
Into
chimp.
Some
Yeah.
common sense. Yeah, actual grooming. Yeah. Get my hair real big.
Yeah.
You know?
Eat little
really,
flakes of dead
I
skin out of
finally
it.
get my
Teach me how to
eyeshadow
put my
right.
makeup on.
Yeah.
Well, you never know. We can wrap this up. The only thing that I'd written down doesn't have anything to do with Christianity, but the guy next to me, I bought a car recently. Everyone can cancel me now, but I finally have a car.
Socialism
instead
is
of a
when
big
no car.
truck. Oh yeah, that's right. Where's that drop?
People have to flush their
There we
toilet
go.
15 times.
No, but and so then I'm at the dealership and just sitting there waiting. Of course, so I go near the end of the day, get the car that I kind of want, so that I know they're not going to keep me around for the whole day because they want to go home too. It was my logic, and I wasn't there for as long as last time I bought a car. It was insane. I couldn't. I wanted to jump out the window.
So fucking annoying.
But yeah. But the guy next to me waiting for credit approval at the auto lot was talking about how he worked for the government for years, how he died in his sleep multiple times and how he recently lost a tooth biting into a nail in his Caesar salad. And I just wrote, these people have money and we don't.
Oh my God.
It's just, the guy was just going on and on. I was just sitting there like I didn't even have good service. I was trying to do the Wordle on my phone while I was waiting for the guy in the back. And he was just talking to the poor person, just like, oh, wow. No, a nail? Like a nail? No, like a nail. Wow. Yeah. No, and he's like, yeah, I'm working out at the nuclear sites and blah, blah, blah. And like, yes, like a hammer and nail. And how it just happened.
I feel like a fake fingernail would make sense to me. That could reasonably
was a nail
fall
in his
into a
Caesar
salad.
Yeah.
That's
He must have been doing some roofing work while it was going on, It was a Sven and Oli when a guy was throwing out. They're doing the roof.
How do you not notice your fork hitting it, like getting a nail?
Well, he was busy talking about his time working with high government clearance at nuclear testing sites, or something like that. Or maybe he was talking about how he died in his sleep. I don't know, more than once. But it's like, and you're gonna get credit approval and drive away from here, dude. And his old wife just sitting there, sitting there, saying nothing. Yeah, who knows? Maybe it has to do.
So funny.
She's heard it all day.
She's like, how am I doing you milk that nail story? Yeah.
It was like this other guy. His house burned down. He doesn't even talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
Unless he wants to milk it. So, let's see.
Wait, I want to read this to you really quick.
Okay.
I'm on the New York Post, and this is why we go to the New York Post, Danae, because it's like so unbelievably infuriating. I like the opinion articles especially because they're just like so fucking out of touch. There's one bitch on there that's always talking shit. But this one, for Climate Week, let's reject the green fantasy. Carbon is not the enemy. And it goes on just talking about how the environment is like not a problem. Things are better than ever, like the environment's like the best. And it has like a little poll you can take. And the question is, what's the most annoying thing about climate zealots? Hypocritically huge carbon footprints, shrill traffic blocking protests, apparent inability to do basic math, or Greta Thunberg. Just Greta Thunberg. That's what I know. That one, I caught that one. I was like, fucking cringe as fuck, dude. Like, they're just saying like, oh man, it's really just interesting that there's. And then I'm down in the comments, that's where I like to go, down in the comments. And there's people.
I like wading around in the comments in the New York Post.
There's people that, are saying, well, you're wrong. The weather, it's hottest years on record, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, actually, this guy provided sources, which he didn't really. Like, he's just saying, there's a few links, but, it's all just. It's like, and so you didn't, so whatever. Like, it just really is interesting.
I'm not the one who wrote the article.
If its organizers of this Climate Week thing really hope to create a brighter future for humanity, they should unapologetically embrace the high carbon lifestyle and acknowledge its power to transform the human condition. That's the closing line of this opinion article.
What does that even mean? What
means
is a high
fossil
carbon
fuels?
lifestyle?
Chevron, pay me.
Fossil fuels are the reason we have comfortable homes, access to nutritious foods, and life-saving medicines. They're the reason you can spend your free time reading articles like this instead of the backbreaking labor of life without them. Subsistence farming, walking miles to collect water or firewood, and the likelihood of a short and difficult existence. And then that's just like a few sentences before, and it's like, wow, fossil fuel sure gets a lot of like the credit for all of the work that people were doing. Like, it's like this magical thing. It's
true.
Like
yeah, like it just fossil fuels just created all these things.
Yeah, it just
they
came out of the ground, and our cars were
huge.
just like waiting to be filled up. We didn't invent anything or do anything to take advantage of it. And I mean, it just, and these guys, you know what I'm gonna tell this guy? how about I just go start up my car and you just breathe in out of my tailpipe then? You know, why don't you just do that? If it's like not dangerous to do what we're doing, why don't you just do that? Who cares? What all these fucking climate scientists say? It's like belching into our air and stuff. It's like, so what does that matter? So go breathe it. Oh, I mean, like that's, well, maybe, you know, that's like not very nice because that's how people take their own lives, because you can die from that because it's like you're not supposed to fucking breathe it.
Why don't you just start the car in the garage and have the time of your life? Well, that's the
and just amplify that. It's like the Earth is one big garage,
the former
and we're all
Greenpeace guy. That guy who was the leader of Greenpeace. That's been his line for like over a decade. Well, actually, carbon's good. Plants need it. And anytime people use that line of logic, it's like, so plant a fucking tree. And I don't see you planting
also, they
trees.
lived a long time without motherfucking cars. I don't know if they knew that trees have been around a lot longer than fucking oil being pumped out of the ground. That's like a pretty recent thing.
Right.
Well,
Sounds like they just need to man up and go work in the mines.
Yeah. Sounds like they would have a hell of a time. Or they just need to visit the Pacific Northwest where we don't use fossil fuels for our energy infrastructure and be like, what? How did this happen?
Breathe the nice clean air. Yeah.
The other one that I saw here, blame the Kamala Harris border disaster for U.S. homeless explosion.
Yeah.
No.
That makes
Don't
sense.
Tell me what to do.
It just happened. It happened
headline.
since July or August when she got nominated for the presidency.
Yes.
That's when suddenly there were homeless people in America.
No, she's the border czar. It's on her. Yeah, this crisis that isn't a crisis, that she's not in charge of, that isn't related to the homelessness issue. Psst. That's her fault.
That's Brett Summer. Exactly.
Brett Summer.
Yeah.
That's Brett Summer for you.
Blame. That's what it should have. They'd get a few more clicks. Blame the Kamala Harris Brett Summer border for a U.S. homeless explosion. See, that's how you drive traffic, New York Post. You got to listen to our pastor on this one.
I've been pasteurized.
Your pop culture.
Yeah.
Pop culture
Pop
pastor.
culture pastor. Nope.
All right. Yeah.
Let's end on that note. No, let's end on this opinion article. Biden's failure to secure an Israel-Hamas ceasefire is good news for the entire world. Here's why.
Oh, and one of my favorite people. Oh, she's so smart.
Talking about Benny Netanyahu. She's so smart.
No, I'm talking about you.
I hope she's around. She is an incredible woman. She's a brilliant woman, doesn't get credit for it, but we all know about that stuff.
I was going to play that at the beginning of the episode and totally screwed it up. That was for Danae.
Yeah.
Our pastor. Brilliant woman. Incredible
I hope
woman.
she's in the crowd.
Yeah, I hope she's around because we want to have her on the show sometime. So, okay. Well, shout out to everyone.
There you go.
Shout out to Danae.
First and
Shout out to
foremost.
myself.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yes.
Yay.
There we go.
Thanks for being a guest on here. Shout out to R.M. Brown.
And
Thanks for having me.
yes. Shout out to R.M. Brown.
I still don't know who that is, but shout out to him.
Oh my
sure.
God, are you serious?
How do I
possibly
I gotta do my
figure out
homework.
this impossible riddle? Thank you, life, you asshole.
That's R.M. Brown.
Well, one thing that you can know about R.M. Brown.
I was exposed as doing a giant fraud.
But,
That was a really nice one. Thanks, Inane Blather.
okay. All right.
Shout out to
Love
Humby
you guys.
first. He's not listening, but if he is. Okay, I love you.
Okay. All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye, Danae.